I'll do Trello first real quick since that was the topic of the day, and then I'll do the drone detection thing. Let me see if I can share my screen, and I'll do a quick. This is gonna be a high level overview. So light on the details, so to speak. See if I can find the right screen. I think this is the right one. There we go. Does everybody see that now? You're looking at a bunch of colors. Okay. So Trello, what Trello is, it's for those that don't know, I'll give the high level stuff. It's essentially a project management software. And there are free accounts you can set up and there are paid accounts. We do happen to have a paid account in our office, but with a free account, you can have multiple boards. You can do a lot of the same stuff. It's just when you get to a paid account, you get the extra perks and all that other good stuff. So let me back out a little bit. So this is like the blank Trello. This is my, I guess, landing page on Trello. And you can see I got multiple boards that we deal with. We got ones at work and everywhere else. So I'll go into one of them. So you have boards, lists, and then cards within Trello. So these are different boards for different things. So I've got a template one for a T card rack, and I've got one that's already set up for kind of an incident here. And essentially what we would do is that board's already set up with all this stuff templated. You can just copy and paste the board, like make a new board for a new incident, like on the spot, a couple clicks, right? So within the board, you see lists here. All right, going across, and you can see I've got a list for finance, logistics, planning, operations, command, and then there's kind of the templated list over here at the beginning, the about this board thing. So it is a what do you call it, cloud-based or network-based program. So as long as you are working an incident, which probably 95% of the stuff we work, you do have infrastructure and network, you got stuff like that to deal with. So an advantage is instead of a traditional T card rack on a wall, you have to physically walk over to it. Somebody, you got to physically be there. With this, because it is on a network, you can have people helping remotely that are able to view it, look at it. If you're working in different stations or whatever, anybody, as long as you can go on your desktop and open it up, log into it, you can see it anywhere. So there's some advantages there, and it's pretty easy to work with. For example, one thing you can do, you can copy and paste from Excel spreadsheets if you've got rosters, etc., and it'll build the cards for you really quickly. In other words, you can copy and paste and make 40 cards of resources coming in with a few clicks, as long as you've got the information on a spreadsheet coming in, or you can transpose it. Otherwise, you can make them from scratch. To give you an example, if you were building the operations section, let's say you were going to start adding some division supervisors or something. I'll open this card here, the division supervisor card. On the card, you've got description information you can type in. You can make comments down here where it says activity. That's basically comments. So as you go through, it keeps a log or record of what's going on. You can add labels. So basically your color labels, there's already the label at the top for red for operations. You can add checklists within the cards. You can, there is a date thing on here somewhere. I don't have it on here. There is you can make a due date. You can do all kind of stuff like that. The other thing you can do once you add members to the board, you can do this watch. So you can click on that, and then you can add people to the card. So like everybody within ops section, the ops section chief could be watching. So any changes to any of those cards, they'd be notified by email of any changes or updates or anything. I mean, I'm trying to go high level, and there's a million things you can do with this. But essentially, you'll open up this, and you can just copy the card. And we're going to put this, let's see, we're going to copy it to operations, create card. And so now it's created right in here. And again, you can start building this. I have a list for demob. So stuff you're not using, you can just drag over there to get it out of the way. Or if it's gone, you've demobbed it, you can move it over there. So it's just drag and drop and plug and play basically on this digital board. And the way I've got mine colored is kind of by the sections. I've seen some of the type 1 teams, what they'll do is they'll actually color their templates exactly like the real T cards. Okay, so the same exact color scheme. So it's literally like just a T card rack. Mine's not really a T card rack as much as kind of a digital 207 so to speak. Does that make sense? Is this jiving with everybody? Um, but yeah, it's grab the cards, drag them around wherever you need to. You can watch them so you can get updates on them. Again, there's a lot of stuff you can add. Each of those cards, you can add descriptions. It could be names, contact information, whatever. The activity, the comments can go in there. There's the due date. This one's got a date on there, so you can add a due date if there's something that by a certain time of that day. You can put a date and time in there, and then it'll actually send you an email to remind you to check it, so you can do that. Um, it's pretty simple. It's really a user-friendly system. It doesn't take long. I didn't take any class on this. It was kind of a self-taught sort of situation, and we just played around with it. This is one version or one way to do it. Again, I've seen some of the type 1 and 2 teams. They'll use actually the card instead of these cards where it's kind of like I said 207. Theirs are literally like T cards, and they'll drag them around and do that stuff too.
Question, Chris.
Yep.
Can you print this out?
You can download it. I know to Excel. You can upload and download to Excel. Okay. I've done that. So we had a board we were using for our strategic planning within the office, and I wanted to kind of manipulate the data a little bit. So it looks similar to this, with cards all over the place. And you can download the entire board to an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can manipulate the data that way. So yeah, it is printable or downloadable in some ways. I have not explored that a whole lot, so I'm not super familiar with that, but I know it can be done because I've done a little bit of it.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked that is, retention, after a situation, be able to go back and say, this is what happened, this is why we did it. And, if this system is downloadable, then, that's great, or printable or something that we can go back and go,
Yep.
3 weeks ago, this is what it looked like, and here's what we did and how we did it. So, yeah.
Yep. So like I said, I did that with a strategic board, and it went straight to Excel. And I had to clean up a little bit of the data. A couple things came through a little bit funky. It looked like it was printed in Russian or something, a couple of words here and there. Nothing significant. It's nothing major, but that's just a glitch, here and there. It's not going to be absolutely stellar perfect, but it's pretty good.
Wow. Hey, Chris, 2 questions from me, Mike. First is I looks to me like this is also can run as an add-on under Microsoft Teams. Do I have that correct?
I believe it is. Yeah,
yeah.
Yes, I think Teams Teams had their own. If it's not directly connected, Teams has a version of this, but I think it is actually connectable straight to Teams.
Yeah, I think there's an add-in. You can do an add-in, and then it just ends up being another tab on the top, and then probably brings in the data a little easier and so forth. The second question, it looks like, as you said, it's multi-user, right? So I could be in there updating my PIO information if I'm the PIO, and then you've got the overall command and, that kind of thing. Do you know if it has any kind of either version control or logs as to who made changes to certain cards or moved cards from place to place, et cetera?
There's an activity section over here. You can see right here this log that
cool.
that keeps
track. Excellent. Yeah, that's probably change. Great.
Yes. Yeah. So every change is logged in that activity, and actually every card has that. So you can go to the bottom of a card somewhere. Crap, I can't remember if someone shared. I know the cards have it and the overall board have it, both.
That's great. Yeah, from a compliance audit perspective, I think that's great.
Yep. And again, there's free. If you're working with other, if you for us, for example, our team. My office has a paid account. So if I go on my IMT team and deploy, not everybody on that team has a paid account, but they can set up a free account on the fly, and that allows them to work within the board. They don't have some of the what they call power-ups, again, the few extra little bells and whistles, but they can do everything they need to do, and they can edit stuff and everything else. So it's pretty simple.
Not to pry, but what is kind of the cost of it?
That I don't even know. I don't think it's that much. I want to say for an office, for our office of like 6 people, I want to say it was in the couple $100 for a year kind of thing. It wasn't like astronomical, like 10,000 or anything crazy like that. It was pretty reasonable, and you can buy account for an individual, and I think it's in the less than $100 a year kind of thing. It's a pretty reasonable cost. And again, I use it, my whole to-do stuff. I have a whole to-do board, and this is how I manage all my projects and pending training and all that stuff. I use it all the time. And it's very, very helpful.
That's kind of what I was looking at, Chris. Because with my training and exercise, I've got my board that I've got, on the wall. This would be fantastic for doing my planning for training and exercise.
This is my to-do board here. I mean, I've got, my to-do list, my high priority stuff, and then I'll drag over here into the either disregarded or completed stuff, in different columns. But yeah, and this is our strategic planning. So for our office for strategic planning, this is the board that I downloaded. And again, you can see it's a pretty large board with a lot of information. And one button, I did a click and it took all of this down and put it on a spreadsheet for me. And then I was able to manipulate stuff around. So it's a pretty good price. Is it perfect? No, I'm not a Trello salesman or anything like that. I'm not trying to push this on everybody, but when I heard that some of the type 1 and 2 teams were using this for the T card rack, I had already designed that basic T card rack you saw. Probably, I think it was 2021 when I built the first version of it. And we used it on one incident, the small little parade support thing we were doing, probably like a type 4 incident, but it worked pretty well. And then when I heard the type 1 and 2 teams were doing it, we had a guy that's on one of the type 1 teams here locally. He did a demo of his version. I showed my version. Again, it's kind of a couple different ways to do it, whatever, so there's not a standard way to do it across the board. Now, down the road, maybe there will be. I don't know that, standardization is a good thing, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. So,
is there any things up on YouTube to how to do this kind of work?
You can find some Trello how-tos that are pretty simple and get you started. And again, you learn the basics, boards, lists, and cards, and then you start figuring out how they can work for you. And pretty soon you figure it out. I found it to be very intuitive and very easy to work with.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Yep. Anything else? Otherwise, out of time, let me switch over to the D drone system, and I'll kind of show that real quick.